the Social Security Act or the Social Security system, basically. So he basically leaked that out. Now I tried for probably several hours trying to find this interview on YouTube or anywhere on the net, the actual video, which I've seen it before, but it's hard to find now. For some reason they clipped it, and we know why, because of the truth behind it. So I look for it. So if any of you brothers find it, then that's, you could put it up. That'll be beautiful. But I did look for it, but I couldn't find it. But I did see it when it came out. So now this is just letting you know that the Social Security system was set up for that, which the Social Security came out of what we know as the through the IBM, the tabulating system that they used, which with those perforated cards, and those numbers that they had in those cards, they gave to each individual so-called Jew during the so-called Holocaust, or I say during World War II, because there was no such thing as a Holocaust among them devils. And then they tattooed those numbers on their arms, and then when they would type in those numbers into the computer would pull up what part of Europe they were from, what family they were from, what their name was, what their height was, their sex, everything. Their whole family history and their whole history in general. All right. So now what I want to do is, matter of fact, I just hit this real quick. This is the history of the integrated circuit, aka Microchip, Jack Kilby and Robert Noyce. All right, so now this is Robert Noyce and this is Jack Kilby, two devils that created the integrated circuit known as a microchip today to help process more memory and more memory for the computer. It says the integrated circuit. Jack Kilby, an engineer with a background in ceramic-based silk screen circuit boards and transitor-based hearing aids, started working for Texas Instrument in 1958. A year earlier, research engineer Robert Noyce had co-founded the Fairchild Semiconductor Corporation. From 1958 to 1959, both electrical engineers were working on an answer to the same dilemma: how to make more of less. All right, why the integrated circuit was needed. In designing a complex electronic machine like a computer, it was always necessary to increase the number of components involved in order to make technical advances. The monolithic, or one stone, formed from a single crystal, integrated circuit placed the previously separate transistors, resistors, capacitors, and all the connecting wires onto a single crystal or chip made of semiconductor material. Kilby used germanium and Noyce used silicon for the semiconductor material. So they were able to take all these different components that are in a computer and integrate them into one using a chip. And they use them for the computer. They use the ones with the little legs on it to insert it into the motherboard. But then with the microchip, which is also an integrated circuit, they're using that to insert it into humans. All right, to keep track of them. Commercial release. Jack Kilby holds patents on over 60 inventions and is also well known as the inventor of the portable calculator in 1967. In 1970, he was awarded the National Medal of Science. Robert Noyce with 16 patents to his name, founded Intel, which Intel is a processing what you call it. I believe they're connected with Digital Angel now, if I'm not mistaken on that. The company responsible for the inventions of the microprocessor, it says in 1968, but for both men, the invention of the integrated circuit stands historically as one of the most important innovations of mankind. Almost all modern products use chip technology. See, so basically, they out of all of the accolades and achievements that they accomplished, the greatest one was the making of this microchip. Okay, this integrated circuit. All right. Now this guy here is George J. Lauer from Wikipedia Free Encyclopedia. That's the devil right there. And he was the inventor of what we know today as a UPC code, which is also being used within the microchip, for that number 666. It says George Joseph Lauer, born September 23rd, 1925 in New York, developed the Universal Product Code in 1973 as an engineer at where? IBM. He was asked to develop the pattern used for the universal product code, because this was used for what? For tracking. As the elder Ayatun went to, he showed you the tracking package, and all that in the videos that he did. It says a 36-year veteran of the International Business Machine Corporation, IBM, who retired June 1987. George Lauer is the holder of 25 patents. He is also the author of 20 published technical disclosure bulletins. During his career, IBM recognized and rewarded him for many technical innovations. He received the prestigious Raleigh, North Carolina Inventor of the Year Award in 1976. In 1980, he was honored with IBM's Corporate Technical Achievement Award for his work on the Universal Product Code proposal that was issued in 1970 by McKinsey & Company and Uniform Grocery Product Code Council, Inc. So this right here, the Universal Product Code, or the UPC code, which was invented by this guy, was basically invented to keep track of so-called, the goods in the stores, all right, your canned goods and all that. But really, or whatever produce or whatever you have in the store, but really, it was set up to keep track of people, because this is the same technology that's being used inside of the microchip. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, now I want to go here to book of Revelation 13 and 16. I want to show you something. Revelation 13:16, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Now you all know that Elder Tahar went into this, and he went into the word mark, which when you go to the word mark goes back to charagma, the Greek word charagma, which is a stamp, an imprinted mark of the stamp of the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist. And Elder Ayatun, he showed you the technology that they have to implant a chip into your brain, to alter your mind so that they can control you. All right, that's all part of that MK Ultra program for mind control. All right, where they did it through drugs back then, but now they have the technology to where they can put a chip in your brain and tap into your brain and make you do things that you wouldn't want to do, because they want to totally control you. That's one of the reasons to put the microchip inside of you. It says the mark branded upon horses, thing carved, sculpture, graven, work of idolatrous images. So basically, it's something that they're going to insert or implant into you, to cut into you. Now, what I want to do is I want to go to the root word etymology. It says the charagma comes from the root word charax. Right now, charax means a pale or stake, a palisade or rampart. Pales between which earth, stone, trees, and timbers are heaped and packed together. Now, a pale is something like you have a stake, and the stake has a sharp. It's cut on the bottom to make it sharp, so you can go in. It could cut into the ground, right? So now that particular word, charax, which is a root word of charagma, goes back from charazo, to sharpen to a point, akin to graphel. So now to sharpen to a point means what? So that they can use it to cut into your flesh to insert this microchip. Now it goes back to graphel. It says through the idea of scratching. All right. So when you put that microchip into somebody, you have to scratch the skin and go up under the skin to cut through into the skin. And what's the purpose of this chip being inserted into people? Well, let's go to the word graphel. Now the word graphel is where you get the English word graph from, which the word graph means to write. All right. Now it says here to write with reference to the form of the letters, to delineate or perform letters on a tablet. All right. Remember we read about the integrated circuit, the tabulating machine, the microchip, all these stuff. So what? All these things are for what? To put stuff into it, store information into them, to write. So now we know that they're not doing it physically today because it's too much work. So they have these microchips and these computers and this technology to be able to store all this information easier than it would be to have thousands or millions or billions of drawers where you have to store all this information. You have it all in one computer. All right. It says To delineate or form letters on a tablet, parchment, paper, or other material. As we read about the tabulating circuit or the tabulating machine, which they had the perforated cards. Now they got it into the technology of these microchips. To write with reference to the contents of the writing. To express in written characters. To commit to writing. Things not to be forgotten. See? So that's why they want to put that in there. So when they type in your name, they're going to go under the guise of, well, if you have a medical problem, if you're unconscious and you can't tell a person that you're allergic to penicillin or whatever, they can just take a scanner, scan it over your chip, and they'll have all the information in there. So you won't mistakenly be given penicillin, or for an Alzheimer's patient, so he can take his medicine. You know, but that's the guise, that's the outward veil. But it's really set up to keep track of people. All right. It says to commit to writing, things not to be forgotten, write down, record. See, so you keep records. All right. Use of those things which stand written in the sacred books of the Old Testament, to write to one, an example, by writing in a written epistle, to give information. See, to give information, directions, to fill with writing, to draw up in writing, compose. So basically, that's the reason why the microchip was set up. All right, and that's the mark of the beast in the book of Revelation, the 13th chapter. You know, and then the 18th verse goes into the number 666, which we read about the UPC code. And the UPC code, when you break it down, it has a 6 at the beginning, a 6 in the middle, and a 6 at the end. So everything ties together to prove that the so-called microchip is the mark of the beast. But you have these assholes like General Gehenna, which sold out, Nate Satan, which he probably sold out too, and all these other clowns that are saying that the chip is not the mark of the beast. All right, and the Most High is going to deal with them, and anybody that takes that chip that's following them, they're going to die, and then their blood is going to be on the hands of these false prophets out there. You know, so I mean, between the information that Elder Tahar, the reams and tons of information that Elder Tahar has brought out, the reams of ton information that Elder Gabar and other elders have brought out, you know, and with this lesson, if you can't see that the mark of the beast is the microchip, then either you're blinded or you sold out. All right. So those of you that take the chip, the microchip, you're gonna die because you're taking the mark of the beast. All right. But for those of you brothers out there and the few sisters out there that still listen to us, when that chip comes, don't take that chip, because if you take it, you're gonna die. All right. So with that, you know, I'm gonna say shalom, and I'll catch you in the next round.